Okay, there sounds like there were some great discussions going on around the room. So now I'm going to read out your questions and Ross will answer them for you. So Ross, the first question I've got here, and Ross has had a moment to look at the questions. Can truth overrule facts? Are the most important truths found in stories rather than information?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would say that's true. I mean, you can see the Bible is a story. There's information there. It's not a set of facts. So, yep.
Okay, next question. Is there a difference between being humble, the ontological experience, and humility as a concept?
I don't know.
And there's humility right there. Have you got some comments about how our society can make a shift from arrogance to humility? Our politicians, for example, seldom are admired for their humility.
Well, I love all these questions. I love this crowd because they ask deep, hard questions. So I don't have, and I don't think there's simple answers, particularly on this one. But I mean, it's important to have models, and I think that's where we need leaders, whether they're church leaders or political leaders, who will model humility in not claiming that they have all the answers and not claiming that they don't make mistakes, and being vulnerable. So I think that would be my main thought, but it's something also that, like a lot of things, are trying to bring about positive change. It needs to be done at the grassroots as well as in the larger public sphere. So we need to be being humble and practicing some of these things of listening to others, and also coming back to this definition which John Dixon gave of humility, which I think is really based on the idea in Philippians of Jesus' humility. And humility is not so much about what I think about myself. It's more about how do I use my power for the benefit of others. So that's exactly what Jesus did. And so there's a dimension to that in the political realm, unfortunately, is that are people, whether they're in politics or heads of universities or what, are people using their position, their power, are they using it for the benefit of others, or are they using it for the benefit of themselves?
Thank you, Ross. Next question is, will a truly humble person stand up to a repeat bully? If so, how?
Another easy question. Yeah, I would say yes. I think being humble is not the same as allowing yourself to be humiliated. And again, it's using your power to love others, and that means loving the bully, but also loving the future and present victims of the bully. But I'm not saying at all that this is going to be easy. But yeah, I don't think humility is allowing yourself to be humiliated. Although that's what Jesus did. I don't think that's what it means. Yeah.
Okay. And next question. I guess that boldness is the opposite to humility. Given that so much progress has come from the bold going against the wisdom of the crowd, how do we reconcile this tension between humility and not being humble?
Well, I don't think boldness is the opposite of humility. I think arrogance is the opposite of humility, and I think you can be bold, and you can still be humble. That again, the wisdom of the crowd. The key idea in the wisdom of the crowd is that you have a group of people who think independently of one another and have a range of views. And so where like in science, advance is coming from the bold person who didn't follow the crowd. I mean, that's happened many times. But the problem was the crowd all had the same opinion. And so the boldness was justified. They were in fact representing more diversity. So I think boldness is a good thing, and wisdom, acknowledging the wisdom of the crowd is not conforming. Does not mean you conform. It means you acknowledge that there's diversity and you're open to the different views within that diversity. And also it means that not all the opinions are right. I mean, the ox, right, the slaughtered ox, there was one correct weight. But so the person who, way underestimated over, they weren't right, they didn't have a valid opinion. But there was something that could be learned from the average, yeah. So.
Okay, and next question. Is there a way back in the public square to regain the wisdom of the crowd?
I hope so. So again, I think it's modelling from within whatever sphere of influence we have, whether it's within small groups of friends or within the church, or sometimes some of us are involved in much bigger organisations, is again to model that by being willing to listen to other points of view, and when you have committees, leadership groups and things, is bringing in people with a range of backgrounds. And one thing I'll say, that the whole idea of diversity, has been hijacked in a politically correct thing. Like, I worked at university, they want diversity, but they think of it purely in terms of things like gender and skin colour. What they don't want is diversity of opinion. And particularly they don't want anyone who criticises management, or anyone who has a different point of view to management. I mean, so diversity is real. It's real diversity that we want. I mean, we want, and don't say I'm not all against. We want gender diversity and racial diversity and so on, and equal opportunity, but we also want diversity of opinion, and diversity of approaches and things,
Thank you.
Sure.
Very passionate point there. And the next one is actually a comment that you've been asked to comment on. So Nietzsche and Hitler parodied Christian humility. In a crisis such as COVID, China's Shanghai approach seems to have done better than America, where polarity precipitates inaction. Please comment.
Sure. Well, it is amazing that, I'm not that I'm an expert on Nietzsche, but Nietzsche, one of the things that he was found so offensive about Christianity was this idea of weakness, of power through weakness. So I think we should bear that there's a paradox there, again, of power through weakness, and again, that through the humble can inherit the earth. Those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. So I would say that Nietzsche and Hitler were wrong. So I feel it's a little separate, this issue of handling the pandemic and also the role of authoritarianism. I mean, that so, and this is where there's a subtlety here. Let's just say in terms of, you know, what the pandemic shows is that that individualism can't always work, okay? We can't say, well, I'm just going to not wear a mask, I'm not going to get vaccinated, I'm going to do what I want, it's my right to do that. Well, on one level it is, but on another level there's consequences of individual actions, and so that's where if people are not willing to do what's for the good, if people are not willing to do the common good, then authoritarians can sometimes force it, so that in the very short term, maybe with a narrow goal of stopping COVID, you know, or something like that, you can achieve some, you know, good outcome. But you've got to consider the bigger picture of what are the other consequences of that. And so, sure, China has, you know, done COVID well, but so has Australia. Okay, Australia. So I would say compare Australia to China, and I don't think whether or not you have authoritarianism or not is actually the key. Yeah, I don't know if that's answering. Yeah.
It's thought-provoking. Thank you. And the final one we have is, we live in a world of increasing censorship of multiple voices. How can we, as followers of Christ in his humility, yet passion for truth, justice and righteousness, encourage and support the diversity of the crowd in discussing and debating solutions to current crises, in everything from COVID-19 to climate change?
Well, I think, again, at both the small scale level and the you know, larger level, to be modelling that openness to other points of view, and particularly respecting the people who have different points of view. Doesn't mean you have to respect their view. You know, if someone, you know, thinks that, well, no one should have to get vaccinated, you know, you should listen to them, respect them as a person, and be empathetic about their fears, but that doesn't mean that you have to give them, you know, a major public forum. And so, you know, freedom of speech is a tricky concept, because it doesn't, to me, it doesn't mean that people have a right to be jerks, or a right to, you know, to be particularly, to spread, you know, lies and conspiracy theories. So how you balance those things is, you know, one of the biggest philosophical questions in political philosophy. But I would say that, and that's where, you know, like something like climate change, there's a great clip, I don't know if you've ever seen it, with the comedian John Oliver, and he points out there's a problem when what the media says, well, let's be balanced, and we'll have someone who believes in climate change, someone who doesn't, and they're going to debate on our you know, news show. And John Oliver said, no, the way to do it is you have 99 climate scientists who believe that climate change is real, and then you have the one skeptic, and then they debate, and he has them all come into the studio. It's a very funny clip. And that's, yeah, some of the point is that I don't think, you know, that if someone tells, you know, someone says that, oh, I don't believe in Einstein's theory of relativity, you know, in physics departments, you should give equal voice, you know, that so that half, you know, the curriculum should be saying why Einstein's wrong. Well, you know, I don't buy into that at all. So that's where you have to find the the balance. But yeah, I think we want to be encouraging multiple voices. But when people, they have a right to speak, but they have a right, but then they have to be willing to, accept the criticism of their point of view, and hopefully that's what we can move towards, is much more robust debate. Where I agree, certainly now it's if my view is different from yours, well, then you hate me, So and you see that in some of the public debate. Well, if you don't agree with me, you're racist, or the opposite. I mean, and that's where people on extreme left, extreme right, they're sort of, both the same in a way. They're often incredibly intolerant of just basically of other points of view. Yeah. So.
Well, thank you very much, Ross. Those were some really thoughtful and thought-provoking answers to the questions. And this is just a token of appreciation and thanks for you from Theology on Tap.
Sure.
So let's give another round of applause for Ross.